jumping off the floor, dancing till your feet to sore. Party hard, it's like it's Mardi Gras, cause that's what.
Hello, please start settling down. We are going to start in 2 minutes. Those who are standing near the entry, you all can come and settle down quickly.
If you were born between 1980 and 2000, तो Axis Max Life लाया है एक solid term plan for smart folks like you. क्यों? क्योंकि पैसा कमाना
दादा त्या नंबर द्या ना मला त्याच्या वायरवाल्या
Requesting again for those who are standing to please sit down so that we can start. There is a lot of space here. Requesting people to start settling. Okay, so this is just to check whether all schools are present here. So when I take your school name, can I get a cheer from that school? Okay, so this is just to check that all the schools have come and settled down. So let's start with NMMC. I knew that would be the loudest. LN, NN, Natwar, ML, Mahalakshmi, SMC, MPS, Wadi, Abudaya, MPM. Great. And I think SMPS, Shindewadi and DNR in the class, hopefully. Okay, everyone present here? Everyone's team members sitting next to them? Everyone comfortable? Everyone ready to get uncomfortable? Okay, good morning everybody. Welcome. Okay, we're waiting for a minute. Okay, welcome to Community Day, a space that we are going to use to celebrate connection and love today. We are all gathered here after a long time together, all the schools meeting one another. Hopefully we have a great day together. Before we begin, we always start with a check-in, how we are feeling. And since the weather has been off like a lot these days, we're going to do a check-in based on our weather. So you're going to ask yourself, how are you feeling? Based on a weather, so either you're feeling sunny, rainy, cloudy, windy, and you're going to share it with a partner who's sitting either to your left or your right. We are going to give you 30 seconds, so your time starts now.
80 येणार आहे. ही शाळा चांगली आहे म्हणून इथे घेतात. आता आपल्याला पैसे कसे मिळणार? मोठी शाळा आहे. अशी मोठी शाळा तिकडे होती कॉर्नरला. बनवली आहे कुठे?
Last 10 seconds. People who are standing at the passage can come inside. We have a lot of space here in front. Can I see a thumbs up if you're done sharing how you're feeling? Thank you. Lot of thumbs up from this side and this side. Great. One team that I forgot to acknowledge was our ASC team. So can we get a cheer from them as well? Thank you. It's lovely to see all of you all here today. Like always, the Mumbai counseling team have come prepared with another dance for you guys. So now we're going to request you to stand, occupy the space ahead because you all are going to need some space to do some movement. Quickly, can we all stand and come ahead? You all can leave your bags where they are. Quickly, quickly. Let's spread ourselves and form lines ahead. Request teams to please start coming forward. There are some gaps that need to be filled. Make sure all of you all are standing in lines when you all stand. Quickly. Everyone, can I get a cheer when all of you all are ready? बहुत कम आवाज आया. Can I get a cheer when you all are ready? Little more louder we can go, no? Okay. Is everyone ready? Ready? I can hear few voices in front only. Everyone ready back there? Okay.
Mama, she said, roly poly. Papa, he said, holy moly. Everybody want a chocolate. All the girls want candy, candy. All the boys get ready, ready. Everybody want a chocolate. Come on. Choco, choco. Clap, clap. Choco, choco. Clap, clap. Everybody say a chocolate. Here we go. Choco, choco. Clap, clap. Choco, choco. Clap, clap. Everybody say a chocolate. Chocolate. A choco, choco. 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 Here we go.
Natwa team, come on.
Mama, she said, roly poly. Papa, he said, holy moly. Everybody want a chocolate. Choco, choco. All the girls want candy, candy. All the boys get ready, ready. Everybody
Natwa
want a
team, we want you all to move. Natwa team.
clap, clap.
I'm watching.
Clap, clap. Everybody say a
Natwa team.
chocolate. Here we go. Choco, choco. Clap, clap.
Abhyuday team.
Clap. Everybody say a chocolate.
Mahalakshmi team.
Chocolate. A choco, choco. Chocolate. A choco, choco. Chocolate. A choco, choco. Chocolate. A choco, choco.
Woo! You all have to stay standing. Don't go back to your places. Stand where you are. Okay. All of us, high on energy? Very high on energy? Okay. We are going to do one last thing. Request you all to form some lines. So how the first line is all standing together. Make sure where you're standing, you all are forming a line. So like that. Line. Everybody needs to stand in a line like that. Wherever there's some space here, aage, you all can come ahead. Okay. How many of you all watched the Women's World Cup? Okay. At a stadium in a World Cup, apart from cheering, pata hai kya hota hai? A wave, right? So we are going to do that right now because we are going to send all the energy we have to the people next to us and pass on that wave. Okay? We are going to start line wise. ठीक है? We'll show you how to do it. Once you finish the wave, the line will sit down. So we'll do it line wise. Wave जब भी complete होता है, आप बैठ जाओगे. ठीक है? Clear? Instructions clear? Great. Everybody is part of one line, right? Nobody in the middle, no? Okay. Guys, you all can do a demo. Do a wave and sit. Do a wave and sit. Understood? And it's okay कि हमारा perfect नहीं आता है wave. Point क्या है ये wave का? Energy pass कर रहे हैं, प्यार pass कर रहे हैं, connection pass कर रहे हैं. ठीक है? Let's start in 3. First line ready? Too much pressure. 3, 2, 1, go. Woo! Woo! Lovely. Lovely. Woo! Yay! Sit. You all can sit where you are. Sit where you all are. Everyone can be seated where they are. Bags, nobody is going to move them. So please be seated where you are. ठीक है? Lot of energy, lot of connection, lot of love. We're going to now just take a minute of silence. ठीक है? Again, requesting those who are standing behind near the passage, if you all can just be seated. Okay? We're going to take 1 minute now to feel a little grounded and present. You all can choose to close your eyes or lower your gaze. Keeping all the things that you have in your hand aside. Bags, phones aside. Today is going to be about connection, love, and relationship. As you ground yourself to this present moment, ask yourself, what can you do or what can you bring into this day to let that love, connection, and relationship show? We'll take one deep breath in together, breathing in through our nose and out through our mouth. And whenever you feel ready, you can gently open your eyes. Thank you so much, everyone.
Okay, so we're kicking off with a read aloud. Anybody here has seen the book other than the learning team? Has anyone seen the book before? Okay, so it's called The Crocodile Who Didn't Like Water. One second. Go. Okay, yeah. That's just the first page, the title page, or page before the title page. Anything very quick, the only couple of questions I'm asking. Anything you see here that strikes you? A basket of eggs. Anything other than the basket of eggs? One slightly different egg. Okay. Go ahead, Zanna. Okay, keep moving. The crocodile who didn't like water. Once upon a time, there was a little crocodile. And this little crocodile didn't like water. He longed to play with his brothers and sisters, but they were far too busy with swim club, and this little crocodile didn't like swim club. What he really liked was climbing trees, but nobody else did. It was lonely, having nobody to play with. So the little crocodile made a decision. He had saved up his money from the Truth Fairy, and he knew exactly what to buy with it. Any quick guess, what's he going to buy? Swimming tube? The next afternoon, he took his new rubber ring over to the water. Today, he would play with his brothers and sisters. But he couldn't play ball or swim underwater. And although the ladder was fun, he just didn't want to jump. But he didn't want to be alone, so he decided to try one last time. 1, 2, 2.5, 3, splosh. And before Sarna goes to the next page, what do you think happens? He's drowning? Yeah. Anything else? Asking for help? Okay, let's see. This little crocodile definitely hated water. It was cold, it was wet, and it was embarrassing. But then something strange happened. His nose began to tickle, and the tickle grew and grew and grew until achoo! And what is coming out there? What do you see there? The little crocodile didn't like water because he wasn't a crocodile at all. He was a dragon. And this little dragon wasn't born to swim. He was born to breathe fire. And he was born to fly. That's the last page. What do you see now? Can you see what's on the dragon who didn't like fire? So what do you think is going to happen? That's where the book ends. So I'm not going to dive into what it means. Before I hand over to Venil, this is what happens at my age, I keep looking for stuff. Okay. Before I hand over to Venil, I just had a couple of very quick small announcements to make. So the last 2.5 years, I've been the director of learning at Akanksha, and it has been an incredible journey for me. I have a fabulous team of instructional specialists, and it has been a lot of learning and a lot of growth. And well, Akanksha is where I belong. I used to be here earlier. I came back here like a homing pigeon. But I am taking the next year or so off for my family, for my personal reasons. And I am really, really happy to announce that we have a new director of learning. So we're going to introduce her to you. Come up, Smriti. So, yeah. Thank you, guys. So, Smriti Parekh, who's joined us as of November, comes with quite a lot of experience. So she was a TFI fellow, incidentally at Abhyuday. So we have people who've already worked with her. She continued as a program manager, then got her master's at Harvard, and has been at Green Acres Academy now for the last 7 years before joining us. So I'm sure she's going to bring a lot of interesting stuff to the team and to the schools. Excited for that, so please welcome her.
And we have 3 cheers for Gauri, always reading out stories for us and the lovely learning that she brings in. So 3 cheers for Gauri. Hip hip. Hip hip. Hip hip. Thank you, Gauri, for the beautiful story. Now we'll hand it over to Venil for taking it ahead. Yeah. Hi, everyone. So excited to see so many bright faces. I remember the last community day, and all of us who were coming from different central teams were just so blown away with the showcases that I know I'm super excited, and the bar is now really high based on what you all shared last year. So very excited for the entire day as well. I'm just going to share some of my personal reflections on rigor and relationships through my teaching experience as well as over time. So I'm going to start with a story. This is the first class that I taught. It's a grade 3 class in an affordable private school in Govandi. And don't get misled by the sweet looks and smiles. It was a disaster for me and them both. I don't know who tortured whom, but the first few months was just total chaos, right? I had kids playing hide and seek in my math class, during my math class, hiding under the teacher's table behind, and the rest of them just sitting because they knew if they didn't sit, I would start crying. So they're like, let's just, some of us be seated and listen to her while the rest are running around, right? I used the famous professor dialogue in college, you know, if you don't want to study, please leave the class. Now, in college, never has anyone got up and left the class, right? So I also pulled that line out. I said, you know, if you don't want to study, please leave the class. This is 3rd standard. These kids, 9 boys, stand up and walk out. And this is my first 3 months of teaching. So no training had prepared me for this. No life experience had prepared me for this. So I didn't even know how to not make it an ego issue, right? So now it became an ego issue. You've walked out of my class. So they're outside. But obviously, if they had that much courage and energy to do that, they weren't standing like this outside. They are climbing the railings. They're running in the corridor. So the other teachers are coming and saying, please take them back in because they're creating havoc outside, right? So this was sort of the situation of my class. And I think what I had to do was before school, during break, after school, really spend like one-on-one time with different kids who were doing the hide and seek, running around to say, why are you playing in my class? You know, there is break. What's going on? Do some community visits to sort of understand them better. And I'll tell you the story of this one kid, Raza. So he was one of the 9 who walked out of class, right? And it was a standoffish day. They were outside. I didn't let them in. They had to stay back for 15 minutes, get some lecture, then they went home. So the next day when they came, I started the class. I also had some extra courage to say, does anyone want to leave today? Please leave at the start of the day. Nobody is moving, right? So I think big success, you know. I have shown them who's the boss in the class. And Raza happened to be sitting in the first few benches that day. And he says loudly enough that I could hear, but not that the class could hear. He's like, मैं नहीं जा रहा हूँ, मैं उठूँगा तो सब आएंगे. And, you know, I just, more than getting, I was not offended, I was just so grateful. I was like, thank you. Please sit. And that is when sort of Raza became my ally. You know, we're like, okay, we've got each other's back. And he was the one who was least interested to be in class. But for some reason, something clicked and he said, yaar, chalo. we'll not give her a hard time. So no one else then had the guts to give me a hard time, for some time at least, right? So then started spending time with him after school as well, because he wouldn't pay attention in class, walk around, really wouldn't get through any one class, but would not disrupt either. And then I realized when I was doing extra classes, like 15, 20 minutes, when I would repeat the class, he would get it immediately, right? So in 15 minutes, what I did in 40 minutes in class, he was able to solve all those sums, get whatever it was. So then I figured it's more like interest and motivation. So I tried to say, you know, and I'm new TFI fellow, you know, like I'm going to change the world, like I'm going to show him purpose, you know, like why he should do this. So then I start talking about why he needs to learn English, what do you want to do in the future. So he's like, you know, I might become a salesperson somewhere, you know, etc. So I said, see, you'll need like English to sell, na? So he just gives me a look, like what a noob kind of look. He's like, Govandi mein kisko English aata hai? And I was like, okay, fair point. Then I tried math. I said, okay, but what do you want to sell? So he's like, carpenter. I said, there. Someone comes to you to build something and all, you'll need maths. He's like, I'll take a tape and measure. And, you know, he was so ahead of my own thinking and logic, right? I thought these simple whys will do the trick, but then I realized in his scheme of the world, it just didn't make sense. Why should he waste his time doing something which, in his mind, is not going to add any value to his life anywhere, right? And literally, he sort of didn't disrupt only because we formed a relationship which continued till after I left TFI, after he graduated. In fact, when I was leaving TFI, I had messaged him, we were talking, and he was like, okay, do you want a job? He's working as an AC technician. I said, no, don't worry, you know, I'll find one. He's like, काम बहुत है, करने वाले लोग चाहिए. So, you know, so I think I learned a lot just through those conversations, through those relationships is when I think I also understood, one, how those relationships, small conversations are helping me, but also when we talk about rigor, like it's also not just rigor for the sake of some academic technical rigor, but rigor that makes sense for our students in their world, in their life, right? And these are just a few quotes which I wish I knew before the chaos in my classroom. But maybe, I don't know, in the interest of time, I won't run around with the mic. But Zarna, can I have you read one?
Yes. Yeah. No significant learning occurs without a significant relationship.
Thank you. Shraddha, can you read one?
It's the little conversation that builds the relationship and make an impact on each student.
Thank you. Can I ask you to read the third?
Our most challenging students will allow us to teach them if we connect with them first.
Thank you. And I think these quotes of different educators sort of summarize my realization in the first few months, right? And then we had to sit back as a class and debrief the whole situation and come up with a new way of working, right? And saying, listen, it's not working for you, it's not working for me. How do we want to take this forward? And that strengthened the entire class ownership, relationships that we all shared with one another. So those are some of my reflections on relationships. Moving to rigor, right? When we think of rigor, the Bloom's taxonomy and higher order thinking and, you know, some deep thinking, intellectual, like it feels very complex, something really difficult, really complex that we're trying to do. And I think one reflection I had to really simplify it for myself, right, was just to differentiate between processing information and doing some thinking, right? Processing information, I'm just receiving, I'm listening, I might store it and I might recall it, right? That's information processing. Thinking is using some of that information to do something else, right? Which is either to plan something, to decide something. And I said in the simplest way, if I have to think about rigor and increasing the rigor of my classroom, can I move from the amount of time children are just receiving and retrieving information to this side where they're actually using it to do something, right? So even if it is a class where, let's say, it's the first time a chapter or a book is introduced and there has to be some reading, is there also a graphic organizer that they're thinking through something and filling out? Are they annotating something? So are they using that information for something else as well? So few examples of how I started doing it and really simplifying it for my everyday classes. One is thinking of application, right? I may have taught a concept. can they use the same concept in a different scenario, right? So the objective might still be, and I'll show you some examples, might still be the same. It might still be identify verbs, for example, but by helping them do it in a different context, there is an application element that's coming in, right? And as a general rule, can I make sure that students are doing, talking, thinking way more than the teacher in that classroom, right? So few examples. So this is a little bit blurry, but what you'll see in the center is a collage that they made. They were learning verbs. This is grade 3. So they used a newspaper. They had learned some verbs. They looked for pictures where they saw an action, and they wrote down what action that was, right? So it's still an objective of identifying verbs, which normally I would have a worksheet and they would circle that, right? But I'm saying, can you use that and apply that in the world around you, right? So very simple, small shift. The objective rigor still is not something very dramatically different, but it is deepening their thinking, deepening their understanding because they're applying it in another context. Similarly, this was social studies. There was a chapter on Stone Age man and the tools that he used, right? So after we read through the chapter, on one Saturday, they were to go down, pick up any materials to recreate Stone Age man tools, but they could only use what he had access to. So no gum, Fevicol, etc., right? They had to make the tools using just whatever, like leaves and, you know, some wood, etc. And it was incredible. Whatever was in the book, they ended up making that. Some made some other sort of tool and made up their own use for it. I'll use it for this, I'll use it for that. And of course, you can tell, like, making the skirt and all, they also just had a lot of fun, right? So here it's moving from just let me read and read the uses, to let me try creating it. Which one can I make? How do I tie together that this spear actually stays as a spear? And then sort of internalize it a bit more. So that was just applying in different contexts. The next one was mixing it up. You know, I realized that when we were just doing identify the verb, people are getting it. But when I added, you know, some sentences, obviously verbs a bad example, because every sentence will have one. But when you mixed it up, let's say in math, if I say this is a worksheet on subtraction with borrowing, I already know every sum that's borrowing. So I'm mechanically just doing it, right? And I realized the simple power of just mixing it up, where I have to first decide, think, and then sort of practice. Again, your big objective is not changing, but they're thinking through the class, right? So a small example, after we finished some of the basic operations, we had a class market where they had to come and buy like stationery, etc., based on some points they earned in class, and they got a bill with that. Then they had to go back and they had to write word problems based on their bill. They could choose to write addition, subtraction, whatever made sense to them, right? I bought this and this, how many are left, etc. So instead of giving, okay, make everything on addition or giving a word problem, it was just a fun way to flip the exercise and said, you create that, right? If you can see all of this, the prep time actually didn't increase for me, right? The amount of planning I did was probably the same. Just the amount of work students were doing in class was much more. And finally, the third thing that I found really useful was making success criteria visible for kids. If they know what they're supposed to learn, what will success look like, they again are applying their mind while doing that activity, right? So I'll give you a writing example from the class, where, you know, for the people who teach English, you know, there's an ID process, right? Ideate, draft, edit, enhance, publish. So I simplified the language of that for grade 3, and I made it like a writing checklist, that you first do ideas, then you do a teacher check. Then you do story in sequence, you do word check, you do friend check. You know, I made it into like simple steps. And on the side, you'll see these orange sort of rectangles. Those were names of students. So in the writing class, once we had set up the process, they would automatically start writing. They would move their names when they moved to a different section. There were only 2 teacher checks, so I would only sit with people who were at that stage. But what it did was, there was a lot of, while the writing, again, objective was the same, there was a lot of thinking they were doing on which stage is next. Have I really done my word check properly? What else can I do? So the dependency on me was less to cater to 40 people, and many of them were able to proceed successfully and write a lot of stories on their own and go faster than I could. And that's the other thing I realized, that the whole differentiation piece. I did less. I just told them what the process is. And in return, some people in a whole month wrote only 1, and some people wrote 6. And that was perfectly fine. So that was a third realization of just small, simple, everyday ways of bringing more rigor in. And I just want to highlight that some of it may not be as complicated, right? I've put this one RC sort of question and answer. I don't know if it's visible behind, but essentially it's showing like a figure with the changing levels of this lake, and over time when it disappeared, when it reappeared, and it shows another graph of Saharan rock art. And questions are, what is the depth of Lake Chad today? In about what year does this graph in figure 1 start? Why has the author chosen to start the graph at that point? Okay? These are just 3 questions. There were 3 more. I want you to raise your hand if you think your students, when they reach grade 9 and 10, or if you're already teaching grade 9 and 10, they should be able to solve this. Just raise your hand. If you think, yeah, they'll be able to access this. Grades 9 and 10. Can I just raise your hand if you think, yeah, with a little bit practice, a little bit support, this should be fine. Okay, I'm seeing only 2 very scared hands. I would raise my hand on this. Okay, now I'm seeing many more. Yeah, right? It's a fairly simple passage. Yes, some of the questions of why has the author started in this date might require more thinking. Just so that you know, this is actually a question from the PISA assessment, which is the global sort of benchmark of rigor, right? All countries take the PISA assessment to see how well students are doing, how are they getting skills. And this is one of the questions, sample questions from there. Right? We had a conversation with the PISA team, and we may have an opportunity for some schools to even take it in grade 10. But what I realized was it's actually not very, very different from what we're doing, right? The smaller shifts that we need to make, quickly I'll show you this one. Essentially, it's put a comic strip of the way ozone is formed in the atmosphere. And the task is, your uncle doesn't know anything about the way ozone is formed, and he's confused with this comic strip. He knows that there aren't actually people there, but doesn't know what it means. Write an explanation for your uncle to explain this comic strip, right? So the shift is the application, the articulation in their own language, right? This is also from a PISA sample assessment, that they may know how ozone is formed, but if they had to say it in the simplest of terms, if they had to use an image, can they do it, right? And essentially, my reflection after spending 18 months in the Akanksha system, going into all schools, multiple classrooms, that I don't think it's a very dramatic shift we need to make, right? It's about doing that 1% extra, better every day, and making small shifts of students being able to articulate, students explaining, can they apply, are we asking why, right? It's the tinier shifts. And this image is from the book Atomic Habits, where he highlights that if you do just 1% better every single day, over the year, you get 37 times better, right? So that small 1% better every single day really adds up. And I genuinely believe, going into most of your classrooms, that that's where we are. We just need to focus on doing that 1% in the right direction, different every day, and we're going to really see, we'll probably see our kids topping this PISA assessment. So essentially, it's the simple everyday stuff. And I want to just close with this very short 6-minute TED talk about, again, just the simple everyday stuff. So if you can just have that play.
I want to start by asking everyone in the audience here a question. How many of you are completely comfortable with calling yourselves a leader? See, I've asked that question all the way across the country, and everywhere I ask it, no matter where, there's always a huge portion of the audience that won't put up their hand. And I've come to realize that we have made leadership into something bigger than us. We made it into something beyond us. We made it about changing the world. And we've taken this title of leader and we treat it as if it's something that one day we're going to deserve. But to give it to ourselves right now means a level of arrogance or cockiness that we're not comfortable with. And I worry sometimes that we spend so much time celebrating amazing things that hardly anybody can do, that we've convinced ourselves that those are the only things we're celebrating. And we start to devalue the things that we can do every day. And we start to take moments where we truly are a leader, and we don't let ourselves take credit for it, and we don't let ourselves feel good about it. And I've been lucky enough over the last 10 years to work with some amazing people who have helped me redefine leadership in a way that I think has made me happier. And with my short time today, I just want to share with you the one story that is probably most responsible for that redefinition. I went to a school on a little school called Mount Allison University in Sackville, New Brunswick. And on my last day there, a girl came up to me and she said, "I remember the first time that I met you." And then she told me a story that had happened 4 years earlier. She said, "On my day before I started university, I was in the hotel room with my mom and my dad, and I was so scared and so convinced that I couldn't do this, that I wasn't ready for university, that I just burst into tears. And my mom and my dad were amazing. They were like, 'Look, we know you're scared, but let's just go tomorrow. Let's go to the first day, and if at any point you feel as if you can't do this, that's fine. Just tell us, we will take you home. We love you no matter what.'" And she says, so I went the next day, and I was standing in line getting ready for registration, and I looked around, and I just knew I couldn't do it. I knew I wasn't ready. I knew I had to quit. And she says, I made that decision, and as soon as I made it, there was this incredible feeling of peace that came over me. And I turned to my mom and my dad to tell them that we needed to go home. And just at that moment, you came out of the Student Union building wearing the stupidest hat I have ever seen in my life. It was awesome. And you had a big sign promoting Shinorama, which is Students Fighting Cystic Fibrosis, a charity I've worked with for years. And you had a bucket full of lollipops. And you were walking along, and you were handing the lollipops out to people in line and talking about Shinorama. And all of a sudden, you got to me, and you just stopped, and you stared. It was creepy. This girl right here knows exactly what I'm talking about. And then you looked at the guy next to me, and you smiled, and you reached in your bucket, you pulled out a lollipop, and you held it out to him. And you said, you need to give a lollipop to the beautiful woman standing next to you. And she said, I have never seen anyone get more embarrassed faster in my life. He turned beet red, and he wouldn't even look at me. He just kind of held the lollipop out like this. And I felt so bad for this dude that I took the lollipop. And as soon as I did, you got this incredibly severe look on your face, and you looked at my mom and my dad, and you said, look at that. Look at that. First day away from home, and already she's taking candy from a stranger. And she said everybody lost it. 20 feet in every direction, everyone started to howl. And I know this is cheesy, and I don't know why I'm telling you this. But in that moment when everyone was laughing, I knew that I shouldn't quit. I knew that I was where I was supposed to be, and I knew that I was home. And I haven't spoken to you once in the 4 years since that day, but I heard that you were leaving. And I had to come up and tell you that you've been an incredibly important person in my life, and I'm gonna miss you. Good luck. And she walks away, and I'm flattened. And she gets about 6 feet away, she turns around and smiles and goes, you should probably know this too. I'm still dating that guy 4 years later. A year and a half after I moved to Toronto, I got an invitation to their wedding. Here's the kicker, I don't remember that. I have no recollection of that moment, and I've searched my memory banks because that is funny, and I should remember doing it, and I don't remember it. And that was such an eye-opening, transformative moment for me to think that maybe the biggest impact I'd ever had on anyone's life, a moment that had a woman walk up to a stranger 4 years later and say, you've been an incredibly important person in my life, was a moment that I didn't even remember. How many of you guys have a lollipop moment, a moment where someone said something or did something that you feel fundamentally made your life better? All right. How many of you have told that person they did it? See, why not? We celebrate birthdays where all you have to do is not die for 365 days. And yet we let people who have made our lives better walk around without knowing it. And every single one of you has been the catalyst for a lollipop moment. You have made someone's life better by something that you said or that you did. And if you think you haven't, think about all the hands that didn't go back up when I asked that question. You're just one of the people who hasn't been told. But it is so scary to think of ourselves as that powerful. It can be frightening to think that we can matter that much to other people. Because as long as we make leadership something bigger than us, as long as we keep leadership something beyond us, as long as we make it about changing the world, we give ourselves an excuse not to expect it every day from ourselves and from each other. Marianne Williamson said, our greatest fear is not that we are inadequate. Our greatest fear is that we are powerful beyond measure. It is our light and not our darkness that frightens us. And my call to action today is that we need to get over that. We need to get over our fear of how extraordinarily powerful we can be in each other's lives. We need to get over it so we can move beyond it. And our little brothers and our little sisters, and one day our kids, or our kids right now, can watch us start to value the impact we can have on each other's lives more than money and power and titles and influence. We need to redefine leadership as being about lollipop moments. How many of them we create, how many of them we acknowledge, how many of them we pay forward, and how many of them we say thank you for. Because we've made leadership about changing the world, and there is no world. There's only 6 billion understandings of it. And if you change one person's understanding of it, one person's understanding of what they're capable of, one person's understanding of how much people care about them, one person's understanding of how powerful an agent for change they can be in this world, you've changed the whole thing. And if we can understand leadership like that, I think if we can redefine leadership like that, I think we can change everything. And it's a simple idea, but I don't think it's a small one. And I want to thank you all so much for letting me share it with you today. Having a great day at TED. I'll see you later.
I don't want to ruin what he said by summarizing anything, but thank you, everyone. I know that we all create, especially everyone in the room interacting with kids every day, creates these multiple lollipop moments every day. You just may not have heard back, but just continue to do that and focus on getting 1% better. Thank you, thank you. Can we have, thank you, Vainil, for really beautiful video here and just filled my heart with warmth, and want to thank you, all of you, for what you all do every day, showing up, being the anchor for each of our children. So would like you all to pat yourself first. You all are doing incredible job and being that one influencer for each of our children, so thank you for that. Closing. Next. Can we have Natasha for logistics, please? Yo, Natasha!
Good morning. All right. I don't know how many of you have read the agenda and seen the floor plan. So you know what's happening next? So you guys know what's happening next? Yeah? Okay. Okay, showcase, right? We'll now proceed to the showcase, which is happening on the 2nd and 3rd floor. So how we'll divide ourselves? Abhyudaya, DN Nagar, Lakshmi Nagar, Mahalakshmi, and Mahatma Phule and Natwar Nagar, 2nd floor. Remember? Okay. Navi Mumbai, Shindewari, Sitaram Mills, and Wadi Bandar will move to the 3rd floor. You get 15 minutes in each room, so please move after 15 minutes. Khushbu will remind you on the school PA system. See as many showcases as possible. Yeah? Post that at 12, you will move to the rooms for your first head and heart session. And that's where your lunch will be served. Right? So 12 to 1 is lunch. You eat lunch then you attend your first head, heart, and hand session. Yeah? There's only DLI. There's only DLI. Yeah. It's in the agenda. All those who want to see the Natwar Nagar DLI session, it's in room 103. Yeah? Yeah, you can move up and down. But just don't spend more than 15 minutes in one. Move to the others. Yeah? So lunch between 12 and 1, and in that same room, you will have your first head-heart session. All right? All 3 sessions, you move to, you know your sessions? Who hasn't signed up for their session? No, you're okay. Okay, whoever hasn't signed up will meet me in the principal's office at lunchtime. Yeah? And I'll let you know. Okay, so we head for showcases, and then after your head-heart sessions, reflections are in the same room of your 3rd head-heart session. And post-reflection, downstairs you go for tea, and vada pav's on sale like last year at 18 rupees. It's awesome. So you can pay 18 rupees and buy vada. Yeah, a parent is doing it. Yeah. So all those who are hungry and need food for the journey home. All right, thank you. The vada pav that parent, $18.